Okay, so GM let us try out a vehicle for the week, and I hope you guys enjoy this review because this might be the last time they ever give us a truck. 2020 Duramax 3.0. It came out like a year ago. I've seen a pile of them.
It's got lots of get up and go.
And you know what? This review is not like anything that you've ever seen before.
Some buttons here, and there's some buttons here. There's some buttons behind.
We went over the entire thing in this truck, underneath the hood, underneath the truck itself.
I'm gonna tell you a scary story.
Put our kids in it, put it to work, and these are my honest opinions on the 2020 3-liter Duramax. Here we go. All right, there's the truck. We're going to take it to Vegas, and now we've got the truck for over a week, and we don't really know what to do with it. So we're gonna coyote swap it. Got 12 tie downs or something like that. Got nice lights under the bottom here somewhere. LED lights in the box, keeping your junk coyote engine nice and clean and tidy from rolling around. Protect that nice box. I don't even have it for like 3 hours, and I got an old rusty junk engine in the back. Here we go. In case you're wondering, you can put 6 pails of flowers in the back seat. It works as a grocery getter. It's mommy's bag. That'll be my stuff. Nice thing about the GMs is that they don't have a 6-foot box 8 feet in the air. I know I'm a tall guy, but at least you can keep your hockey gear in the back. We got the essentials taken care of. What else can the truck do?
Just kind of in the ground there.
See what we can do. Okay, we've got our trailer hooked up. Let's see what happens now. Trailer brake's connected, that's good. So if I pull my slide, I can see I can get 100%, whoop, all the way down to 0, nice. So we got 2 auto, 4 high, 2 high, and all terrain. Let's do that one. Select 4 high. Really? Okay, well, we got 4 high. Let's see how she tows. Here we go. And we're moving. Down, a little reverse, move it forward, foot on brake, gas, here we go. Oh, we're moving so effortlessly. 400 some odd foot-pounds of torque, just a giving her, eh? On the grass, uphill with a trailer that hasn't moved in 4 years. Wow, impressive. I like it. Got that 10-speed transmission, kicking ass. Feels pretty good. Definitely know what's behind here, but feels good. Can't feel that transmission shift at all. 80k an hour, going up and down hills. It varies between, about, I would say about 15, 16 liters per 100 kilometers. Oh, going uphill, you can tell the difference. This is with the trailer. Cruise set at 82. That was a lot less eventful than I would have thought, but that's pretty sweet. You can finally kind of hear that it's a diesel because it's actually doing a little bit of work now. It's not as quiet. It's a pain telling everybody it's a diesel because it's so quiet. Oh, it is? So this truck is rated to pull 99,000 some odd pounds, I think, somewhere around there. We're just guessing roughly where the trailer's at. I think the 6.2 is able to pull 12,000 pounds, which is insane for a half ton. My 3/4 ton 05 with the 6 liter, I think, was rated for what this half ton is. It's holding a steady 90, and the transmission's holding nicely at 85 degrees. That's perfect. It's not cooking it yet. The nice thing is, you can hear this review because the truck is so freaking quiet. Try not to drive off the ramp. $67. So that was. So I am at 15,200. Morning, Julie. I'm just weighing the truck and trailer. I'm dropping scrap off, but I don't need to get paid. All right, so even though it's a small box, we've got a focus hatch, a fan, 4 tires, another side door getting dropped off to somebody, and 2 engine cradles getting dropped off to somebody else. And still got some room to spare, not bad. So we got 1 strap on there, and it's never complete until you say, that's not going anywhere. All right, let's roll. So we're supposed to be at PFI right now, getting our Audi tuned, and we were gonna throw this truck on the dyno as well. Instead, I'm driving around the city, and I thought I'd run the truck really low. Man, living on the edge here. The light came on about 40K ago, and stupid gas stations don't have diesel in the city. I hate the city. Best view from cities is from the rear view mirror. Now I gotta try and idle this thing to a gas station that has diesel. And you can't turn left because there's a stupid median in the way. Stay in the country, stay home. Whew. Made it. Holy cow. That's stressful, man. Now, this is frustrating because there's no cap. So you can't shove the cap under the handle. I mean, what else is the cap for? So this truck has an 82 or an 80 liter tank. Isn't that funny? I was empty. Nice. I just gotta figure out how to reset it. And there's some buttons here, and there's some buttons here. There's some buttons behind the steering wheel. There's some more buttons here, and there's some more buttons here. There's a row of buttons here. I'll figure it out. Okay, so I put 200 kilometers on the truck, which is like 120 miles, maybe something like that. My average for driving around reasonably is about 9 liters per 100 kilometers, which works out to 27 miles to the gallon, 26, somewhere around there. That's a decent day. I'm comfortable enough, but don't take my word for buttons and how things work on the inside. Don't listen to me whether I've got room or whatnot. If you're serious about buying the truck, go to dealership and drive it. If you like where the buttons are and what they do, then good, fantastic. What we want to know is what's underneath. So we're gonna get it in the shop, we're gonna put it on the hoist, go take a good look underneath and under the hood. So we're taking some stuff apart and looking what there is to do. The biggest concerns about this engine is the timing chain on the back, and we're gonna dive into that and talk about that. So, yeah, here we go.
Tell you a scary story.
Okay, so this is a 2020 media vehicle, meaning that there has been other channels that have done reviews on this. You can check out Fast Lane Truck. They drove this truck around when I had about 2,000 kilometers on it, and they were driving it through the winter. down some back roads and through some puddles. It is now spring. It has 6,000 kilometers on it. And one winter in Canada has already taken its toll. Now, you guys know that GM waxes their frame. And really what that is basically I don't know if they don't coat it at all, but you can take your finger and just scrape that wax off, and it doesn't work. So if GM is watching this, you guys got to stop it, because this I'm I'm a little bit perturbed that if you see this already, there's already rust on the corner. There's already rust all on the differential. And there's a pile of rust on the exhaust already. This is one winter in Canada. There's already rust on the flex piece, and this is not a cheap truck. If I was to spend this much on a truck, I would be very disappointed to lift this up and see this in the spring. And I always said if I was going to buy a new vehicle, I would pull the cab off, pull the box off, I'd bed liner the whole thing. Can't even do that because it's got this shit on it. So even if you were going to bed line it, it wouldn't, the wax, it would just stick to the wax. You'd have to wash all this wax stuff off and then paint it. But it's GM, you gotta change it. This is quite frustrating to be honest. The front end, the no more torsion bar, obviously. They've got the strut at the front, your upper and lower control arms with your spindle, and it looks all right. The issue is they stopped using grease fittings. Now there's a theory about not using grease fittings. If you have grease fittings, they last longer if you grease them. If you have a sealed unit without grease fittings, they last longer if you don't grease your greasable fittings. So with the oil changes going longer and longer between oil changes, and that is to reduce your cost of ownership, saying, well, we only have to do oil changes every 10,000 K, 15,000 K, 20,000 K. A lot of manufacturers have gone to the sealed units. My truck is still greasable. The Tahoe is greasable. And it's funny because you'd have to grease them every 5,000 K, but you can do an oil change every 10,000 K. Right now we are at 6,000 kilometers on the odometer, and the oil percentage is at 48%. So about 12,000 K, I guess, is when the computer thinks that it's roughly about time to do an oil change. Okay, so this is the 10-speed transmission, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely love this transmission. You don't feel any of the shifts. It's as smooth as butter. We pulled 9,000 pounds to the scrapyard, and it did it awesome. It never got hotter than 89 or 92 degrees Celsius, and that's fantastic. Now it's a large transmission. It is really, really big. A lot of you guys have issues with the timing chain being on the back of the engine. When GM built this, they told us that they started from scratch. They had a clean slate. It's not like they said, okay, we want to buy this engine off of Isuzu, or we want to buy this engine off of Cummins or whatever and make it fit our truck. They said, we started with a truck and said, okay, let's fit this engine inside. The issue is that you have to remove the transmission to change the rear timing chain. The oil pan looks like it's really easy to get at. There's no stupid things like you have to pull the transmission out to get at 2 bolts in the bell housing like the LB7s. So you can drop the entire oil pan, and it looks like it's relatively easy. Hopefully the sump's at the front, and you can drop the pan without doing major things. The oil pump is belt driven. So those have a service life. I think they told us it was 180,000 miles before that chain needed to be done. And to be honest, the Cummins, the 5.9, everybody says is the most reliable diesel ever built. It had a service life of 180,000 miles before Cummins said, okay, now you got to do major work to it. So that's not out of the realm of, that's crazy, why did they do that? I'm sure their warranty will cover it if there was ever an issue with that. We will find out as time goes on. To drain the oil is nicely right at the back. There's no exhaust in the way. There's no skid pan in the way. The oil filter is right here, so it's not going to be running and dripping So to service the engine is super easy. As for everything else underneath, we are not actually able to take anything off. We kind of signed something that said we wouldn't disassemble their trucks. So we're gonna listen to that. Their fuel tank is an 80-liter tank, and you can see all the space. They've got lots of room to make it a nice, much bigger tank. Supposedly the lyometer tells us that we get like about between 800 and 900 kilometers to one tank, and that's really good. They had room to put more, but then that drops their efficiency rating because they have to do the miles per gallon whatever rating with a full tank. So that's more weight, which would drop your rating. Okay, so I'm really disappointed about the rust. And I understand. I'm from the Rust Belt. The salt was on here, whatever, but I think the waxing of the frame is just kind of a little bit cheap out. You got to spend a little bit more on I know the truck is already expensive enough. You got to spend a little bit more on some good quality paint. If you're not in the Rust Belt, none of this applies to you. Your truck is going to look fantastic in 10, 15 years, and you're going to care more about the engine. You're going to care about the serviceability of the transmission and of the engine, and that's going to be there. But for us being where we are, I expected more off of just one winter. I guess GM doesn't want me looking under their hood. So the mid 2000s was kind of a really bad era for emissions on diesels. Older diesels smoked like crazy. Then they realized if we give them more air, we can get more power out of it. So that's when the turbos were added. After that, they thought, okay, if we cool that air and make it more dense, then we can make a more complete burn. That worked really well. We got more power. In the process, we also ended up with more emissions. In the mid 2000s, the way to fix that was to take your exhaust gases that you already burnt, stick them through a cooler, cool them down, stick them back in the engine again and burn them again. That led to a couple different issues. EGR coolers, basically the exhaust gas coming from a diesel it's like you're sandblasting the inside of your EGR cooler constantly. And eventually you're going to wear it out. You're going to get coolant in your cooler and you're going to pump that in your engine. You're going to do massive damage. Thousands and thousands and thousands destroying engines only because the EGR cooler let go. Now the theory is to let your engine breathe, stick a system behind your engine where the exhaust gases accumulate, get it super hot, and then you do that by putting more diesel in there and burning that off. As for reliability on emissions, I think these are much better than 7-10 years ago. That being said, there's a lot of stuff under the hood here to control that still. The more there is, the more chance there is that it's going to break as well. It's only one bolt. I'm not even going to use my impact gun to put it back on again. This is a water over air, meaning that they're taking your engine coolant, running it through a radiator, and then passing your air from your turbo over that before it enters into the engine. The water pump is down here, so looks like it's super easy to change. Tiny little bolts on there though, the little 5/16 heads, which again is fine in Texas, but in 10 years from now, those 5/16 will be more like a 7mm, and you might be fighting to get those off. Bigger bolts. Bigger bolts, guys. Come on, bigger bolts. I can see at least the plugs going on the back of the bulbs. I'm not going to pull them out. But the headlights look like they're easy enough to get at. They're not buried in there, something stupid. My Silverado has one little pin. You pull it out, you slide it out, and then the headlight is out. Literally takes 8 seconds to change your bulb. This doesn't look like it's much worse. I know that the generation before this was a pain in the butt just to change the headlights. I think they got that taken care of. There's lots of room here. I stick my hand all the way down in there. And there's also access at the back, so changing your light bulb is not going to cost you $300. I just want to make sure that the battery's here. And it looks like a nice, decent sized battery that is not going to leave you stranded. The bigger diesels typically came with 2 batteries, but at least this is a nice big Big size. All right, for all the marbles, is the fuse panel labeled? It is! Look at that! It's one sticker. That's all you had to do was a sticker. Ford guys might be new to this concept, but some people put stickers underneath their fuse box labels to show which fuse goes where. So it takes about 12 seconds to change a fuse rather than having to wash your hands before you open the door, and then you're gonna ding the door because it's on a hoist, and then you gotta move 6 things out of the way. You're gonna find some stuff in the glove box that you weren't supposed to find to try and find the manual, and you gotta find the right page. So, for you guys, we started making stickers for all the Ford unlabeled fuse boxes, so you can stick that sticker somewhere where you can see it, and you don't have to go through all that grief, and I can stop my complaining about Ford's not having fuse box labels. You're welcome. Now we're gonna make them available for our pilot models, but we're not gonna make them for the 6.4. Come on, get tight. There it is. Woo! I did pick apart the Silverado, found the gaps are off a little bit. This hood gap here is perfect, but if you come over to this side, it gets pretty tight at the end here. I see that, so it's nice and straight all the way across the top, and then right when it gets to the tip, it gets nice and tight. I thought the door gaps were really nice. That's nice and even all the way along. This door sticks out a hair at the back. It's not Tesla bad, but there's always room for improvement, right? That's what your teacher said. It's not bad, you can do better. Okay, so there's a pile of different trim levels, and you'll have to look at other reviews to see what level does what. This elevation comes with mono something dash stuff and 20-inch rims. That's great. Compared to the Silverado, there's a few differences. The GMC is typically like your executive truck, whereas your Silverado is a little bit more plain Jane. Silverado had louvers in the bumper, which allowed air to go through, decrease air resistance. This one's got fog lights in the way, so it does not have that. Other than that, I don't think at the time the Silverado had the fancy tailgate. This one does not either. So this is not a cheap truck, and I was disappointed because I wanted to see this fancy tailgate that does 6 different things. But instead I just got one that drops on its own. When we were in Oregon, we asked if you could drop the tailgate. You can drop the tailgate by buttoning the dash, and if the trailer was plugged in, if it would still drop the tailgate. If your kids was in there and accidentally hit the button and you've got a jack in the way, you can drop that nice expensive 6-way tailgate right onto the jack, and it's not gonna look pretty. But then came the theory of, well, if you have a 5th wheel hitch, then you want to drop the tailgate as you're driving away. I'm going to take credit for it if GM already did an update, that if it can sense that it's plugged into the bed outlet for the 5th wheel, that you can drop your tailgate, and if it's plugged into the bumper, you cannot drop your tailgate. I'm going to take credit for that. That was me. So I think this is the cold rolled steel. I think they do have a carbon fiber bed option, which is probably a little more expensive yet. Do have 110 volt in the back, which is great. Let's try that. Ignition has to be on. I figure truck better be running for the alternator, because if you're gonna do any massive draw on there, at least the alternator should be putting out. But there's a little LED light in the corner here, and that should be lit. And it is not lit. So, see if we can figure it out. We just go over to our fuse panel here, one hand, look at our label, scroll down quickly. DC AC 19 is this one. Doesn't look like it's burnt. Let's just swap that and see what happens. And just do the old switcheroo. It's broken now. 24 has e-boost. E-boost sounds important too. Let's just see if the plug is working. After 10 seconds, if you try something stupid like a skill saw, it's not meant for a skill saw. 400 amps is the total draw. But after 10 seconds, it's supposed to reset and say, okay, have you thought about it? Was that really a good idea? Did you really need to reheat that Pop-Tart in the microwave in the bed while you're camping with your friends? No. Maybe just run your laptop off. Alright guys, guys, I'm about to drop the truck back off again. I got an hour and a bit drive, so just wanted to do my final thoughts on the truck. Overall, my impressions of the engine and the transmission are fantastic. The engine is smooth, it's quiet, it's very fuel efficient for the weight that it's pushing around, but I absolutely love this 10-speed that's behind it. It's smooth, it's quiet, I cannot feel the shifts whether I'm towing or not. It is an incredible transmission. The rust really bothered me, but there might be options that you can get from factory. If you're ordering your truck off the line, there might be an undercoating option where it's like rubberized rather than the wax. So I'm gonna ask the salesman about that when I drop it back off again. And they do not. They sell the little electronic box to keep the rust off your vehicle, whether they work as, or not. I don't think they work as well as paint. If you look at my truck, this is 15 years old. I painted this the first winter that I had it. I cleaned everything underneath and painted it with some good quality paint, and then did it again, I think 7 years later. And the paint is still on the frame. Yes, I've got rust, but it would be a lot worse if it was just the wax coating. So take it or leave it. You can get that little electronic box, but I still don't think it works as well as paint on bare steel. And that's just my opinion. This is a $67,000 truck. Canadian, keep that in mind. Base model with the diesel is about low 50s, but you can spend even more coin than that if you want. The tailgate and all that, Denali is a higher option truck yet, and you're gonna pay for that. Now, that seems like an absurd amount of money, but it's comparative to the other two as well. It is what the public asks for. They want a luxury vehicle that can tow a little bit, that can that you can put stuff in the back, that you can take to hockey, that you can pick up a used engine, throw it in the back, take your boat to the cottage, take the camper camping. So this is what you guys asked for, and this is what is selling, so they're gonna keep making these trucks. For me, I was never one to recommend anybody to go out and buy a new truck, but if this truck is still holding up in quality and we figure something out with the rest underneath, I would be tempted to buy this in 3 years when it depreciates enough to come within my price range. That being said, we've never done these reviews before, so definitely comment down below whether you like this or whether you want us to push the other automakers to let us hop in their vehicles as well. But if they don't, because they don't like us going that in depth with putting it on the hoist and whatnot, we're wondering if you guys would be interested in us doing reviews on your vehicles. We'd like to do reviews on, say, like a 3-year-old vehicle that's kind of coming off lease, about 70 to 80,000 kilometers on it. We'd like to offer maybe an oil change or a diff oil change, do an oil analysis on those fluids just to see what kind of metals is floating around in the pans, and then get your guys' opinion of what the truck is like after 3 years of driving. Everything is nice and new and perfect when it's brand new, but the quality really starts showing up when it's 3 years old and 5 years old and 10 years old. So it really is just like shooting fish in the barrel. It's, you might get a lemon, you might not, but that's just what we're going to run into. And we don't mind doing that for vans, economy cars, or anything like that. We'd like to start with the big trucks. So if you have an F-150 or a Dodge Ram or a Chevy that's 3 to 4 years old, we'd like to keep it in that range and under 100,000 kilometers. Shoot us a link at thebossgarage@gmail.com and we can set something up. Work to that maybe in the fall, start doing some more of these. Other than that, thank you very much, GM, for letting us beat on your truck for a little bit. Hopefully we did you guys justice by making a little different of a review that you've never seen before. So happy trails, guys. Keep your stuff on the road, keep it clean, keep it oiled, and yeah, see you on another video coming up soon. I don't know what's coming up next, but it's probably gonna be good.